Hey friends. I'm recording this post in the afternoon, which is rare for me. Usually, and for the last maybe 2 months or more, I've been incredibly consistent about recording it in the morning. And part of that is practical because wake up in the morning, if I do it early, then by the time the day gets rolling, it's done. It's uploaded, I can share it, whatnot. But the other part of that is that I've spoken about what this post does for me as a practice. And I don't even know how to point you in the direction of previous posts where I've talked about that, but I'm constantly talking about it. And to very briefly summarize the function of it as I perceive it is that it gives me an opportunity and also accountability for showing up and speaking about my life, wherever I am in my life, whatever's going on, whatever my emotional state may be, whatever challenges I might be facing, speaking about them from the highest vantage point that I can muster. In other words, assuming that everything is happening for me, knowing that to be true, even when emotionally or psychologically it might not feel that true. It might not feel like it's happening for me. It might feel like it's happening to me and not in a very pleasant way. But on some level, I know that to be true. I know that it is true that every moment, every challenge, every obstacle, every unpleasant thing that we might have to face in ourselves is actually some form of gift. Starting my day with that and having to speak from there, because that's the practice, right? Actually forcing myself to articulate and explore for at least a couple of minutes, what does my life look like when I look at it through this lens, means that I have at least one touchstone throughout the day of having connected with that vantage point. Now, sometimes I feel like I should be doing 2 posts and like maybe doing one that's like in the evening so that I can frame the evening that way too, which today's post is kind of doing that for me. Because God knows that perspective doesn't always last all day. It's quite easy to come out of my morning yoga meditation routine and the house is quiet and the energy of the planet is still kind of waking up and everything's serene, and I do my post, and then bam, the day starts and the energy changes. It's quite common, I would say, for me to maybe not reside in that place all day long. But the fact is, making it an early morning practice, making it one of my first touchstones of the day, really feels helpful, and it reminds me of something that I began getting really serious about my own personal practice, my own kind of physical practice and spiritual practice. I'd say maybe about 2 years ago, two and a half, 3 years ago almost. And I had oodles of practices before that. I had meditated for years, had been on many retreats, different meditation techniques. I had practiced Qigong for years. I had taught Qigong for years. I did yoga for years. And I had a number of, and before that, I had like my kind of like a sports-oriented physical discipline that was pretty regular throughout my life. So installing practices in my day as a matter of truly kind of like never miss principles of how I live it was a step, but it was really kind of like embracing something that was already there, embracing something more fully that I was already doing pretty substantially. And but taking that step is huge. You know, it reminds me a little bit of like getting married. Like you think when you're in a relationship, it depends on the relationship before marriage, but I had the experience of being in a relationship for a long time. No question that I was going to marry my wife for several years. That was clear. And if you've lived like that for a while, then you roll up to the door of marriage and you're like, well, I already knew we were here. This isn't really going to change anything. And we're just kind of taking the next step of commitment, but we really know we're already committed, you know? Well, my experience was that the difference between knowing you're committed to something and sort of being implicitly committed to declaring that and being explicitly committed to something is not insignificant. I found my relationship with my wife changing very significantly in the first couple months even, but especially the first year or two of marriage. It felt different. It felt like we went from being two individuals committed to each other to being a unit, to being truly a psychic unit. We still have our individualities, but there was a joining that really was substantial. And so that's kind of what this was like with my practices too. Like I was like, I know I do qigong. I don't need to do it every day. I mean, come on, like let's have a little moderation here, right? Meditation's really great, but like, I mean, if I miss one, it's not that big a deal, right? Well, it is that big a deal. And making that commitment to doing practices truly daily in a kind of almost like military level of rigor changed everything. And I will admit that I sometimes still slip out of those. There are some practices that just never move, but then there are others where there's a little bit of slippage here and there. And I'm convinced that slippage is it's having effects that I can't even quantify. It's having effects on my life that I can't even really appreciate because the cause seems so small relative to the size of the effect. And so part of what I'm clocking for myself today, you know, I'm using kind of this practice as an example, this practice of doing a video post and how the difference between starting my day with it or doing it later in the day. I still haven't missed a day, remarkably, in like 953 posts. I don't know where I'm at right now. It's like way up there. But I still haven't missed a day. But it actually feels different to install it in a place in my day where it's like, this is what I do here before doing X, but the next thing. And, you know, it's like compartmentalizing our priorities. And it makes a difference. Because there are things in my life that aren't sort of on my radar as practices yet, but I can tell they need to be. I can tell that I'm missing some of my most valuable practices. They don't exist yet. I've never developed them. I've never cultivated them. I might not even know what they are. I can have an inkling, but so I think the opportunity I'm finding today in noticing how different it feels to do a post later in the day is in saying, I actually want to tighten up that structure. I actually want to really truly create a practice that's fully rigorous, because somehow it's this thing. I talked about this when we finished or when I was in the middle probably of our raw vegan cleanse. Somehow when we feel like there's not enough energy, it's like, oh, I would do more practices, but I'm so tired. And so we have this sense like, well, I just need like a couple good nights sleep, and then I'll start getting up early and doing yoga, right? Well, how often does that just last for months, years even, that we kind of never quite catch up to the place where we need to be to start that thing, we know we want to do, but so I think I'm giving myself that kind of kick in the pants right now to remember how this works. First, you become rigorous. Then you get the energy to be that rigorous. If I wait for feeling ready to like really get rigorous now until my body's like completely free of tension and I'm fully rested and my mind is just blissful and ready to like bite off a new chapter, if I wait till then, most likely that chapter will never happen, because I'll be waiting for some state of preparedness to do the thing that's actually just the next thing on my table. It's the next thing that my system is asking for and that my soul is asking for in some ways. That it's the impulse that's trying to be expressed, but I'm kind of going, yeah, but for real, or come on, like, can I have a day or two to think about this, or like exactly how early do I need to get up to do that? And tomorrow night we have friends coming over, so there's that. That's how it works. That's the slippery slope, and I think I'm noticing myself on that slippery slope a little bit with certain practices. And today, this is a case in point, but it's coming back. We're bringing it back home tomorrow, and from tomorrow on, this is a morning practice for me. That's where it's categorized. That's where it belongs. That's the function. That's where it performs its highest function. And that's where it will then become one of the table legs that holds up other things, as opposed to being another thing on the table that has to get done. So, lots of images today. I like this. This is good. Maybe I should do an afternoon post every day also. That's like a different thing. We'll see. We'll see how much of this I can tolerate. Anyway, thanks for watching, people. Appreciate you. All the love in the world. I will see you tomorrow.